Hi everyone, this is Mr. Hall and this is a video about circulation and blood flow. By the end of today's video, hopefully you'll be able to know the following things. You'll be able to state where blood goes from and to in the circulatory system. You'll be able to explain what is meant by a double circulatory system. Sometimes the heart's called a double pump, it's the same thing. And also to perform calculations related to blood flow. This last one is a particular feature in many exam boards, particularly AQA at GCSE, so hopefully it will help you with some of those questions that come up quite a lot. So first off, let's talk about just the basics of the circulatory system. So the circulatory system, it carries substances around the body, and for those of you that have studied the blood already, inside the blood you've got red blood cells which carry oxygen, you've got white blood cells which fight disease, you've got platelets and lots of other bits and bobs, as well as the plasma that actually carries it. And it basically, blood is carried all over the body to deliver all these things around. Now the main organs involved in the circulatory system involve the heart, which is here right in the center. You've got the different blood vessels that make up the circulatory system, and the blood itself, which flows through the blood vessels as well. Now let's talk a little bit about why it's called a double circulatory system. Now this image hopefully will aid me in describing for you what's going on. Now there are three things here in the circulatory system. First off, you have the heart, which is here. I won't talk at length about sort of the difference between the blue and the red. That might be in another video about the heart. And up here we have the lungs. And at the bottom here, now this is what I used in a different video from before. This is supposed to represent basically capillaries. And these are like the tiny blood vessels that go around all the cells in your body and supply it with the oxygen and glucose and other nutrients they need in order to function and survive. Okay, so the first part of the circulatory system, if you like, is where blood is pumped to the lungs and returned to the heart. So that's the first thing. So first off, you have deoxygenated blood. Now that means it's blood without oxygen. So it's got no O2. So it comes from the heart and it goes to the lungs. Now because it doesn't have any oxygen, it tends to be quite like a purple colour. And that's why you sometimes see blue as the colour of the blood vessels in pictures. Okay, so that's purple, and it flows all the way to here. These kind of, all the different red blood cells and white blood cells and whatnot. So they go to the lungs. Now when they get to the lungs, you have a process where the oxygen in the lungs diffuses into the bloodstream and to the red blood cells. Okay, so if you have inside the heart, you've got the oxygen, and that will go straight into any red blood cells which are flowing through that blood vessel. Okay, and it obviously goes across a partially permeable membrane, all the rest of it. Okay, and then it goes back to the heart. Now note that at this stage we've had one big pump of the blood, and that pump was sending blood to the lungs. Now after that, blood is then pumped to the muscles that need it for respiration, and then back to the heart again. So for the third bit, I'll just move my image here so you can see what it says. The oxygenated blood is then pumped to the rest of the body. Okay, now this now has oxygen. Okay, so you have oxygen inside this blood as it goes round. As a result, the blood here is quite a deep red, okay, rather than purple, and here is also a deep red, or just like red if you like. Now when it gets to the capillaries, those cells are then going to take that oxygen as well as the glucose and other bits and bobs that are travelling inside the blood. Okay, so if this is your cell, like so, and these are the red blood cells that are travelling past it, they're going to send oxygen into that cell. And then once it does respiration, it will send out carbon dioxide. The blood will take in the carbon dioxide to send it out so it will be breathed out. And then step 4 is the oxygen leaves the blood to be used for respiration in the body, and the blood goes back to the heart. Now when it goes back to the heart, because it's lost oxygen, it will then be this purple colour again. Now the reason why it's called a double pump is because you've got two different pumps going on here. You've got the first pump which sends blood to the lungs, and then you've got the second pump which sends blood basically to the rest of the body. Okay. Now you may remember this from before, but blood that gets basically sent from the heart travels in blood vessels called arteries. So the arteries is there, and also here, that's an artery. And then here, this is a vein, and this is a vein. So veins are blood vessels that send blood back to the heart. The reason why the arteries have such thicker muscles on the outside is because they're dealing with the high pressure of the heart pumping the blood out, and this is something which I'll talk about a bit more in another video on the heart. So that's why it's called a double pump. So quite a lot of information there to digest, but it's really important that you do master it. Now, just to go through some terms which I've used in that previous slide. Oxygenated blood is blood that is carrying oxygen, all right, and it's mainly found in arteries. Deoxygenated blood is blood that doesn't contain oxygen, and it's mainly found in veins, not exclusively, but just mainly. So just be really careful about that distinction. Okay, the key definitions really here is deoxygenated blood doesn't carry oxygen, but oxygenated blood does. That's the main thing I want you to pick up from that. Okay, now what you can do is you can measure the amount of blood that flows through your body or through a particular organ every second, and that's called blood flow. And this is a niche thing that is worth learning and getting good at for assessments and so forth. So you can calculate blood flow using the following equation triangle, and it is volume of blood at the top, blood flow here, and time there. Okay, now blood as volume is always in centimetre cubed. Sometimes it might get converted to decimetre cubed, which is a sort of different kettle of fish, but usually centimetre cubed. So if you wanted to work out volume, you would just have to multiply these two together. So it would be blood flow multiplied by time. And if you wanted to work out blood flow, if you cover it, you notice it's volume of blood divided by time. So it's volume over time. And then if you wanted to work out time, it's going to be volume divided by blood flow. Okay? So let's do a couple of practice examples using this equation. So 24,000 centimetre cubed of blood flowed in a blood vessel in 60 seconds. Calculate the blood flow in centimetre cubed per second. The first thing I always do is I work out what the equation is I want to use. So I want to calculate blood flow, so I underline that. So blood flow equals, if I look at my equation, volume divided by time. Now if I look at the equation, my volume is 24,000 centimetre cubed, and my time is 60 seconds. So I do 24,000 divided by 60, and that gives me 400, and I don't forget the unit, it's centimetre cubed per second. Let's try another one. 30,000 centimetre cubed of blood flowed in the blood vessel in 2 minutes. Calculate the blood flow. So again, I need to work out what I'm trying to do. So blood flow, I look at my equation triangle, it's going to be volume divided by time. Just put vol just to speed up a bit. My volume is 30,000. But time is a bit more complicated. It's 2 minutes, but I need it in seconds. Now we know that so 1 minute equals 60 seconds. Therefore, I've got 2 minutes. So it's going to be 60 multiplied by 2, which is 120 seconds. Therefore, it's going to be 30,000 divided by 120, because I've used that number there. And that gives me 250 centimetre cubed per second. Never forget your unit, and notice I'm always showing my working. We'll try one more example. 18,000 centimetre cubed of blood flowed in a blood vessel with a blood flow of 200 centimetre cubed per second. Calculate the time. Sorry, that's my bell. So here I'm working out time. Now time is volume of blood divided by blood flow. So it's going to be volume divided by blood flow. Now my volume is 18,000. My blood flow is 200. So simply it's 18,000 divided by 200, and that gives me 90 seconds. Okay? Or if you want to be really fancy, you could say 1.5 minutes or a minute and a half. Okay? And that's it. So I hope that was useful. And best of luck with your questions around circulation and blood flow.